Go ahead.
Our mission. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend this meeting live can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. And thank you, Wendy. Welcome.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful, Irene. And I'll just quickly introduce Wendy as well. Wendy Rose Williams is a past life adventure guide. She helps adults from around the world release pain, anxiety, and depression. Wendy leads clients through a healing process via techniques she's learned working with some of the world's most renowned hypnotherapy experts, including Dr. Brian Weiss. People are finally able to start living this life with joy and purpose when they release the energy that does not serve them. Wendy is a certified spiritual teacher, Reiki Master energy healer, host of the Waking Up Spirituality podcast, and an award-winning author, as well as a hypnotherapist. You can learn more about her by visiting her website, which is www.wendyrosewilliams.com. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Wendy Williams.
Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth and Irene and everyone. It's just such a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here, and we're going to go to a PowerPoint to walk us through. So Helping Parents Heal, I understand from Elizabeth, it's been 12 years and just growing. So how wonderful that people are providing support to each other in such a meaningful way. And I'd like to help provide a soul perspective on the continuation of consciousness, because that's one of the things Elizabeth and I talked about and thought would be perhaps the most helpful, to just entertain that possibility. And I liked this quote, those we love and lose are always connected by heartstrings into infinity. Because can't we just all feel that, regardless of whether people are with us in person or whether they have passed on to the other side. And I also love Desjardins' quote, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that can help a lot with some of the most challenging things that can come up in life. So I'd like to share a story with you. I was able to experience shared death communication with my uncle, my mom's older brother. And he woke me up early one morning. This was back in 2015, a few days before Christmas. And I could just sense him in my room. My cat actually woke me up to draw my attention, because those animals can just be so smart and so wise. And I could see and sense his energy in like kind of at the foot of my bed, but in the far left corner of my room. And my sense was he was visiting. I knew he was very close to end of life. He had gone home from the nursing home on hospice, and he was super happy to be back in his home with a hospice nurse, and to be just looking out over the Outer Banks and to just be where he wanted to be. I really feel like he went home to go home to the light, because he was only there for about 24 hours. So I asked him, I thanked him, I expressed my surprise he was there, and I asked him how he was doing, and he said, "I'm doing my farewell tour." And he kind of like sounded like a rock star. It was just kind of neat. And he was going around and visiting his daughters and son-in-laws and my mom, his sister, and just other family members. And I asked him if he wanted help walking to the light or if he remembered how to do that and knew how to do that. And he says, "Oh, I've got this down." And I said, "Great. Do you want to practice once? Do you want to do it together, Uncle Jack?" And it was so amazing because I could watch him de-age. And he was an elderly man in his 80s. He was bedbound, could not get out of bed by himself. But I watched him walk into the light, and he had already de-aged into about his 40s. And what cracked me up was he was wearing these old cut-off denim shorts that I remembered him wearing when I was in high school in the 1970s. And I thought of all the things to put on. But I think it was just a period in life when we were like happy, and he was showing me like a happy memory of us together because he used to come over frequently after work and visit my mom and I when I was in high school. So I just saw him walk into the light. I just felt really good and just really blessed by having the experience because I hadn't expected it. And I got up and got ready for work. And a few hours later, I got the call at work that he'd passed on peacefully at home. And it just was so neat to know he was like already transitioning so beautifully like that. So that was one experience. Here's me with my younger brother, Greg. So let's go all the way back to the 1960s here. And I had the pleasure to have a session with an evidential medium named Darcy Pariso. This was one of the very first sessions I'd ever had. I wasn't looking to connect necessarily with family members or with my brother who had passed on when we were children. All I asked was, "Can you help me connect with my spirit guides?" Because I wanted to feel that loving wisdom and support. And I had heard that that was something that psychic mediums could potentially help you do. So that was my request to her. And so here's how the conversation went. I asked for help connecting with my guides, and her answer was, "Yes, but first your family would like to say hello. It looks like I have your brother here, your grandmother, and an aunt whose name starts with the letter M, both from your mother's side." And she asked me, "Did your brother die when you were children? He's having so much fun running and playing in a big grassy field. He says you'll understand why that's a big deal. Are you able to validate any of that for me so I know I have a strong connection with your family in spirit?" And I was just amazed. I had met her only once before, very casually. There's no way she could have known this information. We'd certainly not talked about any of it. She couldn't look this up on my Facebook page. None of my friends knew these details. It just was, I was in tears. It was just so amazing. And the reason that was such a big deal, she described my brother being happy and running around in the field and playing and saying he was such a healthy little boy, was that was not the reality. He only lived 8 or 9 years, and he had microcephaly. So the brain never grew. So he was never able to walk, talk, feed himself, and so just to picture and to have her give me that description, and for him to say to her that I would know why it was a big deal, really was just it really touched my heart. So that was a very, very special experience for me. And I read this fascinating book by Julia Ingram called Born Scared. And the concept and the question is, can a soul come in born scared? Here's me with my two daughters when they were earlier in college. And I believe, based on personal experience, as well as this very interesting book, that yes, a soul can be born scared and have anxiety, depression, even to the point of feeling suicidal. And I believe that one of my daughters was born scared. I had, just set the stage a little bit, I had years of infertility. I had 2 ectopic pregnancies. And then I had a near-death experience in August of 97 when I was 10 weeks pregnant with one of my daughters. So imagine, being that soul that's wanting to come into that wonderful new little baby, that new little being, and having your mother's uh, uterus, the fundus ruptured, which is the aorta at the top of the uterus. So physicians estimated I lost 3/4 of my blood supply. So I was very, very fortunate to get to the hospital quickly, to get medical attention, and to recover from it fully. I just very briefly, one of the highlights of the near-death experiences, because I actually had 2 that week in August of 97, was I got to have this incredible soul family reunion at home. I just went up and up and up this beautiful long escalator just for me, because I expressed my concern about walking through a tunnel. I just don't have enough energy left, because I had literally been bleeding out in the hospital bed for days. And so this pristine escalator came in for me. At the very top of the escalator, about 20 people, I only took 1 step off it. About 20 people were there waiting for me and gave me this huge group hug. And I cannot tell you what unconditional love feels like, because we don't experience it very often here on Earth. So it was a really big deal. And I also recognized all 4 of my grandparents, which was especially magical to me because I'd never met my dad's parents. They had died before I was born. So to see them and reunite with them like that, I really felt like, oh my gosh, maybe consciousness really does survive. Maybe we really can connect in these different ways, regardless of who's where and what dimension or what location or what your belief system is. But the NDEs were very positive for me, but I don't feel that they felt positive for my daughter as that little tiny, tiny baby who was only, 10 weeks along in the gestation. I learned from my first spiritual teacher. She rebirthed my daughter with me, and we worked with her higher self. We worked with her soul to rebirth her, even though she was in her teens at that time, just to make her feel safe and make her feel welcome, and to let her know that it was safe to be in a body and be on the planet, and that there were people that were going to help her, and that there were people that were going to love her and just help her make her way. I feel that individuals with anxiety and or depression are often ungrounded empaths or high sensitives. They're just feeling so much energy from other people, from the earth, from the animals, that type of thing. And I also feel my daughter, who had this experience of being born scared, she's an experiential learner. So very brave, very intrepid, but she's just chosen to experience so many things: anxiety, depression, PTSD, and she has been even suicidal at times. I'm happy to say she's doing much better now and getting ready to graduate from college. Her life lesson, I was shown in meditation and talking with her guides of how can I help her and what are the appropriate boundaries, because you can't live someone else's life for them. You can only be there and just be their best friend and just hold space for them. But her guide said her life lesson was to be willing to ask for help, and that's why she had all these tough experiences. So that was just some real food for thought for me. So next topic, soulmate recognition. Could past life memories be a type of continuing consciousness, our own consciousness, our own soul level memories? This was shown to me in spades. In 2010, when I started waking up spiritually and just realizing there was more than the life I had been living. And I met a soulmate, and over time, over the next 8 years, we found 19 shared lives together, which I thought was pretty remarkable. And we also found some significant karma, meaning lessons we hadn't finished learning with one another. I was able to, and Elizabeth and I were just chatting at the start today of Robert Schwartz being a speaker regarding soul contracts and those types of topics. So tying right in with that, I was able to learn what my soul contracts were with this soulmate who became my boyfriend, romantic partner for a time, and then continued as a spiritual seeker with me once we were no longer romantically involved. And some of the major contracts we had, and I simply see a soul contract as something, it's a plan, it's like a lesson plan, it's an agreement you make with another soul. And when you're all planning that you're gonna live your next life, I see us as planning that before we incarnate and take on a particular body. And that we are just looking to have experiences to progress at the soul level. So our first contract was fantastic. It was for him to wake me up spiritually. He did that by introducing me to Journey of Souls and to really introducing me to the concepts of reincarnation and past lives. So that was all fantastic, and it completely changed my life in positive ways. Second contract, note, was not quite so much fun. I'm being sarcastic. It was very difficult, because it was to break my heart repeatedly, but it had a profound reason to it, which was to inspire me to stand in my power fully without abusing it, because I had not been doing that. I would shirk my power and kind of step back. And how can you really help people? How can you really live your purpose if you're just questioning yourself so much and not really, taking the risks and not living the life that you're intended to live? So we got through that one with many boxes of Kleenex on my part. And we then were able to, over time, over 8 years' time, we resolved all those lifetimes together, which also led to my 2 books. And we were able to forgive one another at the deepest levels and to part peacefully, which just was a wonderful thing and meant to happen. So Regression Healing 1 is actually a past life regression session I facilitated for him because he had such significant chronic pain and he couldn't connect with his higher self or guides. So he kindly allowed me to blind his identity and share that session in its entirety. So that's what the first book is. It's a nonfiction past life regression. And then the Flow One, I wrote it as historic fiction, but it's based on my memories of that time period in the 1600s. And it's based on my remembering being Anne Warren, whose father, Richard Warren, came over on the original Mayflower in 1620. And my former boyfriend that woke me up, he was a sea captain that brought me over. So we just had some real things to straighten out from that. And here's some best of and most challenging of quick vignettes of experiences I've had. I had a coworker who we were just a couple months ahead in age. I was born in July. His birthday was in September. And he became incredibly stressed, vocal, freaked out about my 50th birthday, which I found really interesting. So I sat down and said to him, "What's going on? I'm really noticing some big emotion around this. Why is this such a big deal to you?" And he said, "Well, it's mirroring for me that my 50th birthday is going to come a couple months after yours. And I need to tell you, I've never lived beyond 50. I've always suicided. I've suicided and had addiction problems so many times. And I'm looking to you because you seem to be embracing it. I was having a rip-roaring good time. I had so many parties and get-togethers. I like fully embraced. It was just like one more day to me. It's like I didn't care. It had like this number on it of 50. It didn't have any emotional angst to it like it had for him. And what he said to me was, I came back this time with so much support, and I knew he and I had had quite a few lives together. So I just, gave him a big hug and said, we're all going to be fine. And let's just, let's just keep the dialogue going, and let's just keep on moving forward. And he broke the cycle. He's now 59, the same as me. So it just was a really big deal. And I'm just glad that I took the time out and noticed and said to him, why are you so freaked about turning 50? What's going on? So, because I wasn't expecting the depth to that answer. Another coworker, this was a tough one. We had a physician, we were working for a hospital system, this coworker and I, and one of our coworkers, one of the physicians that I was working with really closely to help her build and market her practice. And we were giving talks together and just doing a lot of different things with the community college. And I worked with her very closely for about 2 years. And she committed suicide in the parking garage a few blocks from work. And the minute I heard that, I mean, it's it's shocking. You just feel the sadness. And I could hear my guides came in. I feel very blessed. I hear my guides very clearly at this time, as well as my higher self. And they said, you need to go to that parking garage after work, and you need to make sure she goes home, make sure that spirit walks home, and clear that space. So I was able to find the newspaper article and looked it up and kind of pinpointed the area in the garage and just went there because, and the minute I got anywhere near, I mean, the police tape had been removed, but I could just feel it. I was like, oh my goodness, just such sadness and such heaviness and such weight. So I did my best to just clear all that energy, sent a lot of love to her, and sent love to her husband and her daughter and her sister, because they were the most immediate family members I'd heard her talk about. So, and then I had to forgive myself because there's nothing I could have done to have prevented it. And I think that's a big deal. And you can hear the emotion, and we all can really just feel that and just need to forgive ourselves. So let's move on. And let's talk about some ways we can connect with loved ones in spirit. I could have written 50 here, but I wrote what like immediately came to mind. And then let's move into some questions because I want to really be here and be useful for all of you. I do want to recommend a book. It's available on Amazon called How to Talk to Your Dead Loved Ones that my friend Becky Buchko wrote, because it is such a quick and to the point book. And she's communicated successfully with her dad, who's on the other side. And she just calls him her angel spirit. And he just helps her. And she's just able to get such great info and comfort from him. So just a wonderful, short, little practical how-to kind of book. If you do feel drawn that you want to be able to connect more with your loved ones in spirit. Some of us already know how to do it, but others just need some suggestions, or we do it, but then we second guess ourselves because that left brain, that ego just comes in too much and says, am I making stuff up? Is this wishful thinking? So some of the ways I have found useful is to keep a dream journal, because many people will say, oh gosh, I don't remember my dreams, or I can't make heads or tails of them. But I feel it's one of the ways that our guides and our loved ones can really connect with us beautifully. So just the simple act of having that little spiral notebook or that sheet of paper, or just grabbing your phone in the middle of the night and pushing the record button if you're not waking up someone else, and just recording, what that dream was or what that message was, can really be helpful. And you can just get more clarity that way as you start, start trying it out. Certainly meditating or any type of spiritual practice, and just doing your best with it, because so many people say to me, I can't meditate. Um, it's a meditation practice, just do your best. It's just to get that left brain to kind of that busy monkey mind to just calm down a little bit. And you can simply meditate by taking a walk in nature, particularly being by the water or the woods. A lot of us just chill out, even with a 15-minute walk, and we can then hear our loved ones better and hear our own intuition better too in that manner. Journaling. And you can also learn to do automatic writing, where you might be able to write from your loved one, from your guides, from your own higher self. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Just being open to signs and synchronicities. If you've got like butterflies or birds or feathers or coins or repeating numbers, whatever it is, when you're at the point of like asking to connect, or it really makes you think of your child or your loved one, just go with it and see what happens, and ask for more signs, ask for more validation. You might also notice special dates. I know special dates can be really hard to get through, like that first birthday when you're not together, or that first Christmas, those types of things. But I just try and do things to still make it special. Like you can put an empty plate and make it, be all beautiful in your place setting as you're planning the holiday occasion, and put the plate there for that loved one, and just invite them in to be there with you. You can learn to muscle test and just get some wisdom from your body and connect and talk with loved ones that way. Psychometry, holding an item that was special to them, can help you connect. You can use oracle cards. I say oracle cards rather than the tarot, because the tarot can take more skill to learn. And oracle cards are pretty darn straightforward. And there's hundreds of beautiful decks, like healing with the angels, or just whatever animals, just whatever appeals to you, or that you feel you can connect and share with your child. So look on Hay House, look on Amazon, just so many beautiful, beautiful decks of oracle cards. Being in nature, I mentioned, certainly considering having a session with an evidential medium, and just kind of zipping your lip as you go in, and just asking, just sharing like minimal information, so that they're able to connect in a clean way, and bring some information through to you that you then don't question and just, feel like, oh, well, gosh, that was all on my Facebook page. Certainly, past life regression therapy or other types of energy healing can be great ways to connect too. And I always feel like when I have the privilege to work with clients, I feel like I'm not working with just that person. I feel like I am so often working with their family. Their loved ones can come through too. So let's turn it over to a Q&A. What can I help with? Any comments? Any questions?
Let me go ahead and quickly stop the sharing so that we can talk.
Perfect.
Here we go. That's wonderful. And so there are a lot of people who have been posting in the chat while you were speaking. I'm going to go ahead and take the participants off my screen so I can just go back with you. There are a lot of people who are obviously fascinated with your experiences with your former boyfriend, and living out all of those, I guess, 19 lives that you had together, figuring it out, and then writing a book about one of the lifetimes that you lived together, which sounds amazing. There's Christine Lynn is saying, what a powerful experience, Wendy. Absolutely. So this was actually, you were talking about a friend of yours passing by suicide. And I wanted to just say, we had one person saying committed is a word that bothers them. We don't say committed in helping.
Please teach me a better word.
Completed is a really good one if you're just saying it that way, or if you want to say passed by suicide or something like that, just because it kind of has.
Please educate me. Thank you. I'm writing that down.
Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. So I had just kind of said, yes, we usually say completed when we're talking about it,
Transitioned. Okay.
or suicided is what some of the other people, or transitioned by suicide, which are all really good words as well.
Thank you.
But anyway, the PowerPoint was very, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you, do you do your past life regression therapy, the hypnotism, over Zoom? Is that
I
something that,
do. I was very surprised. I was originally a traveling hypnotherapist, so I went to people's homes, offices, etc. And my guides then said to me late 2016, so nothing to do with COVID, they said, it's time for you to now learn the technology to offer this via, originally it was free conference call or Skype, and nowadays it's Zoom. And I was like, oh my goodness, via technology? I don't love technology. Please tell me, guides, why do you want me to do that? So I did some retraining, and I needed to learn the technology. And then, of course, it became obvious because I have lovely clients who are in the UK or Australia or Canada. It just took the distance out of it. And also, my vibration is highest when I'm in my home because I'm helping lift the person up to the light and as we go. And frankly, I can't drive on the day after I do a session. So I would end up at people's homes or offices, and I would be sitting there like, I can't drive because I am up in the stratosphere, and I knew I could not safely drive. So that's the quirky,
so
interesting.
that's good. That's a good thing that you can do it by Zoom then. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Does it ever happen that you're not able to regress a patient? I've always wondered that. Is that something that happens that people
That's a great question. It's very, very rare because what we do in the session, we don't just get on Zoom and say hi and jump into past life regression. It's 2.5 hour or a 4 hour session. And what we do first is we go to a healing temple, and we might spend 5 minutes there. We might be there for 2 hours. And so that's just helping set the stage, and it's helping the person get the energy healing they need. And then I help them connect with their higher self or guide. And that gives that loving wisdom and support really coming in. And then we do the past life regression, which might be scenes earlier in this lifetime, or it may typically it traditionally then goes to that traditional past life. And then we pass over to the light, and they're able to get answers to the questions they wrote before the session. They can write up to 20 questions, and it's your higher self and guides that are speaking through you to answer them. So it's very empowering. It's not a psychic reading where I'm saying, looks like you used to be Cleopatra's maid, to make up a silly example.
Yes, that's wonderful. Well, I have one person here, Mary, saying, I always fall asleep when listening to regression tapes. Is there anything to do? I mean, is there a way that you
Sure.
let
And
people know
when
how
you're
to
working,
stay
right, when you're working with the hypnotherapist, obviously we just gently wake you up. So, but if you're doing the recording on your own, what you can do is sit up. Don't lie down for it. Sit up with your back against the couch or the bed or the wall, so you're comfortable and you're supported, but sit up. And then you're much less likely to fall asleep. If you do fall asleep and you wake up immediately when it stops, it clicks off, you got it at a subconscious level, and that's how you needed to get it, because you woke up right when it's off. So you're still getting it at a different level.
Wonderful. Kate is asking, are there some people not able to be put into a hypnotic trance, which I guess is those who might not be able to be regressed then.
Sure.
Does that happen?
Sure. Individuals with schizophrenia or dissociative identity disorder should not have hypnotherapy. Those are the only individuals. And this is not you, it's your free will. Can I just relax and work with this and embrace what we're doing and visualize and imagine? It's your free will choice. It's like you're getting just relaxed, like kind of like you're getting sleepy before for falling asleep or when you first wake up in the morning, that's all it is. Or if you've zoned out when you're driving and you're like, oh gosh, I'm like 2 minutes from home, I don't remember the last 10 minutes. That's all it is. It's not something being done to you, and you don't have to have a magna cum laude in meditation to be able to have a past life regression.
Wonderful. Kate is asking, this is an interesting question. Is it possible to have a contract with our child to work together after their passing?
Absolutely. Is anyone familiar with channeling Eric? Dr. Alyssa Medhouse, I believe it's pronounced, and she believes that is what happened after he suicided, was they had this contract to work together.
Wonderful. So yes, and this is something that would then be a part of what you're doing to determine that, or is it, I guess, because you're going back to the past, you're not necessarily looking at future contracts that we have with our kids?
We may be looking at future too. People can go to scenes earlier in this lifetime, to a traditional past life, to a parallel or simultaneous, or they can hop, skip, jump to a future life potentiality because the future's changing. But more where that comes in is in the fourth step of the session, where we cross over to the light and we go to the place of all knowledge and talk with a guide there. And there we can more learn, may I ask? And you're only going to learn what's for your highest and holiest. You're not going to learn anything that's going to be traumatizing. You don't learn things that will ruin a lesson or an experience. So I love that there's this, like this check and balance to it. But that's where we find, in that place of all knowledge, was there a contract? May I ask what it was? Or what is my life purpose? What is going on with my life? Why was there this incredible experience that I have found so hard to work with?
That's really interesting. And Susan is kind of following up with what you're saying. She's saying, does a regressed person remember all of the details of the past life? So I guess that what you're saying is the only things that we remember are the things that are beneficial to our growth. Is that correct?
That's what comes through in the session.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger the person is, the less that's typically shown, because occasionally I've got a high schooler or college student, and if they're asking things that are meant to come up in their 40s or 50s, the guides will just be silly and say, hey, you're in chapter 15. I can't show you chapter 40, that sort of thing. I think
great.
I missed part of that question. Could you repeat that, Elizabeth?
Well, no, I was just saying, does a regressed person remember all of the details? So
thank you. I record them. They're all recorded. So you can go back and listen to it, and more healing comes through, and it allows you to relax because you're not trying to open your eyes and take notes and write it down. So you can just know the recording will be there. Some people are quite conscious of their session and they remember pretty much all of it. Other people, like me, I don't remember anything after the first 5 minutes. I'm just gone, and I'm like really bringing forth the information and kind of channeling it. So I don't remember. So I have to have my recording.
that's wonderful. Maggie asked if you could explain muscle testing. Is that
Sure. I learned to muscle test from a book called The Emotion Code, which is by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And the concept is that there's this great innate wisdom in our bodies. Look at all the things our body does without us having to do a thing. Breathing, just so many things. And you learn how to use your body as a pendulum, and then you're able to ask yes/no questions where you get some pretty darn infallible yeses or nos to, because the body involuntarily sways forward toward love. Love is the training word to get your body to sway forward for a yes. And it's he uses the word hate for no, but I was like jumping back so much I had to change it to dislike. When I was learning how to use my body as a body pendulum. Other people use like a little physical pendulum, but I thought, why do I want to be looking for that all the time? I'd rather stand up and use my body and get more movement and more exercise.
Wow, that's amazing. How
So that's the
wonderful.
concept.
Yes. So um, Maggie is saying also that she's listening to the audiobook about Eric right now, which is wonderful. Laura is saying, or Lori is saying, I found the book by Eric and his mom very good. And then Mary is saying that she was in a group regression with Dr. Weiss. She saw what she thought was a past life. However, it turned out to be a future event 20 years down the road. So what you were explaining about this also including different things that happen in the future.
Yes,
Um,
yes, because there's a technique to do future life progression, which Dr. Weiss, I'm just in the point of finishing up the training for that, but some people just naturally go there. And it makes sense because it's a human construct, past, present, future for simplicity. And time is really more continuous. I think of it more as like a loop versus a line without even getting into the quantum physics string theory conversation because we don't have time for that.
Wonderful.
Everything happening now.
I have someone asking if we can see if our loved ones in a past life regression have moved on to another life in that past life regression. Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. Honestly, I think an evidential medium would be a better fit for that. But if you ask that as one of your 20 questions, and if your higher self and guides feel that, that's pertinent and that's great, and that would really help you to know that absolutely can be shown.
Wonderful. And Teresa is asking about what you said earlier, that someone with schizoaffective disorder shouldn't do the past life regression. And she's wondering if there's a reason that you might be able to explain about why that can't
Sure,
happen.
because when we're doing hypnotherapy of this type, we're time travelers. We're moving very fluidly through a lot of aspects of time, and it's not recommended medically. So it's something. I live in Washington State, so I follow the Washington State regulations for hypnotherapists, and it is not recommended because of that fluid movement through time. Whereas a psychic can do that for someone with DID or with schizophrenia, or a shaman, or different people like that who can do that wonderful traveling for you.
Oh, how
That's
interesting.
the reason.
Well, I was wondering, um, with the 19 lives that you discovered with your former boyfriend, how was it that you all were able to discover these? Did you do these together and realize that you were actually together in these former lives? How long does it take? How many times do you do something like that? How many
Sure.
lives do you discover in a hypnotherapy session?
Sure. In a hypnotherapy session, a person sometimes will find a past life, because we might be doing a scene from earlier in this current lifetime. One gal, I tease her that she set the land record for most past lives in one session. She found 12 or 13, but she is a past life reader and she's a spiritual teacher. So it made sense. She was extremely succinct, and it took her like 2 to 3 minutes to narrate each one and say, oh my gosh, here's, this, what was going on with this, here's what I hadn't gotten. And she just was unusual. Most people, it's 1 or 2. Also, when we cross over to the light from the end of the last day in that lifetime, and I make sure you're very comfortable and understand that you cannot die and that you won't suffer or struggle as you leave the body, which helps a lot of people give up the fear of death, because it's not the fear of death, it's the fear of it being very painful. So as we cross over and then meet with the guide, they might narrate another one too and say, let us tell you more about that. And I'm sorry, now I again dropped half your question. I answered the second half and I missed the first half.
That was actually perfect. I'm wondering, you were talking about life between lives, and we do have a question here about life between lives. Amy
Yes.
is asking, can I go to a past life and talk to my son there to see what my soul's plan is and what I'm supposed to be learning? So you also do life between lives, or do you do,
I
is
do
that something?
between lives. Yes. A life between lives is trademarked to the Newton Institute, Michael
Okay.
Newton, but between lives, it's essentially the same thing. We're not incarnated. We're not in a body. So yes, I love doing sessions like that. They're so intriguing because you spend some time in the womb in this lifetime, and to look at things from the perspective of that brand new, not yet baby soul, and like the excitement and what they're planning and why they chose the parents and why they chose the body and why they chose the place and time of birth and what they're going to work on. It's just so interesting. And then we go further back and go up to the light and can look at things like the real pre-birth planning and what the soul was working on. You can meet with your council of elders, no judgment, just these loving, wise beings of why, again, you made a lot of the choices. You can look at soul contracts. You can look at, why do my mother and I do this all day long? You know, why is it such a struggle with mom or with dad or whoever you might be struggling with? Because that's just, they're teachers to you. But what are you trying to learn? And that can take a lot of the difficult friction out of it.
That's wonderful. So how often can someone do these past life regressions? Is it something that you have to have a certain amount of time in between regressions?
Sure. I have some clients do one session and then just wait to, feel like they might want to do another one. They might do another one in 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's like totally ad hoc as they feel called to it. Other people sign up and they're doing either a 3-month series with me or a 1-year series with me. And if you're doing the 3-month series, there's 6 sessions. So not every session might be past life regression. We decide, and some of it comes up naturally as we go through it because it's custom to that person. They might need more healing. They might want to be exploring abilities. They might want to be downloading a book or planning a business by working with their higher self and with their guides to really look at bringing forth some of that creativity that may have felt scary or been very stuck, or just skills they didn't know they had, but they sense might have been there in a past life. A lot of writers are like that. Musicians are like that. I believe when we see these child prodigies, they're just doing it again. They're just actors, actresses. There's so many architects. There's just so many wonderful creative things we continue across lifetimes.
Wonderful. So Lana is saying, so when a person experiences deja vu, is this from a past life?
Absolutely. That absolutely can be from a past life, and it can be triggered by meeting a person for the first time, in quotes, by being in a certain place, because you might suddenly be on an unexpected past life pilgrimage and you can find your way around and you've never been there before. And you just don't need a map, or you can be like, oh my goodness, that's really changed. I remember when there was something different there. So that can go on, or there can be an experience that can trigger some deja vu for you.
That's so interesting. I have a question from Babette about whether or not a person can do their own past life regressions. Do you do your own past life regressions, or do you have someone else who does those?
I work with someone else. Sure, I meditate and I get great info from my higher self and guides, but one of the most efficient things for me to do when I have a lot of energy to release, or when I really want to move on to the next stage, is for me to schedule a session and just get a lot done with another hypnotherapist asking me the questions that I wrote. Because I just don't get to the same level of trance if I'm trying to like read my page and then meditate and get the answer to one, whereas, they can have all my questions written and we just spend a couple hours and really go through them.
That's so interesting. Christine Lynn is saying, thank you so much for all the book suggestions and resources, especially Emotion Code. I really want this done also. Amazing. There are a lot of people who are saying that they want to experience a past life regression, or maybe a life between, or like
between lives session. Yes.
Yes,
And there's a lot more in the PowerPoint. If we're able to share the PowerPoint with people at the end, there's a bunch more resources in there.
Well, yes, the PowerPoint. So there's more than the different pages that you shared.
There's more than we were about maybe halfway, three quarters, because I wanted to leave time for Q&A and people can simply read the resources if they want to. So just depending how time went.
Okay, wonderful. In any case, I'll make sure that we make that available for everyone in the group as well. Let's see. Robin is asking, I must have missed a question. Do you think people have the same thread going throughout their lives, like addiction or grieving? Are those things that maybe we continue to have through different lives?
Yes, I think I have perhaps a different take on that we might be trying to learn a lesson or to fully experience something from all different viewpoints, because my belief is our souls just crave experiences to be able to progress at the soul level, and just have these Superman, Wonder Woman capes on when we plan our lives, and don't realize how big a deal it can be to master forgiveness, for instance. Because we don't master forgiveness in a lifetime. We don't learn how to be a really competent writer in one lifetime, or to be a wonderful healer or teacher. I think those things can just be that thread that gets pulled across many lifetimes. And yes, we can be working through grief. We can be working through different things, again, across the multiple lifetimes.
That's beautiful. Well, I think that, let's see, we do have a few more questions. I was going to say we might have some time to see the other pages of the PowerPoint, but Andrea is saying, how would I know if it's a first or second life? I'm not sure. So there are so many lives, actually. So
Meaning if an individual might be on their first or second life, am I understanding correctly?
I guess that's maybe what she's asking, but
okay, maybe she can clarify. I'll do my best. I believe it would be quite unusual to be on Earth in a first or second lifetime. Two reasons. I see Earth as beautiful and amazing a planet as she is. I also see it as the tough duty station where we can make the most progress, because of the density, the duality, just the fact that there's war on the planet, etc. And I feel people can feel very disoriented on the planet, but it doesn't mean it's their first or second life. They may have incarnated elsewhere, other planets, other dimensions. I've been having some beautiful people remember lifetimes, and they're asking, gosh, could I really have been a fairy or a mermaid? Because that's what's coming through. And it's just really interesting.
That's fascinating. So Amy's asking what the average number of lives an average person has. Do you have any thoughts on that?
My belief is it's a free will choice, and many of us choose to incarnate hundreds, if not thousands of times. But you get to choose. I don't believe we're forced into it or coerced. We might get some real encouragement from guides or from soul group members that want us to like play a part, so they want us to come back with them. But I believe it's a free will choice. My former boyfriend, he found out very specifically he'd had 62 lives on Earth, just as an example. I knew him in 19 of them. I've had approximately 1,300 lives on Earth. So when I found out I'd been in roughly a third of his lives, I said to him, you need to meet new people. Just totally joking, but it was also true. It's like, gosh, no wonder we kind of were able to wrap up, because he needs to meet new people.
That's wonderful. There's one last question. We have a lot of people who are going to be exiting to go to this other meeting, and they're all thanking you profusely for this wonderful meeting. But
oh, thank you.
Would you say that some of the souls are brand new? She's wondering this. Kate is wondering this, as there are more and more and more and more people all the time. Is that something?
It's possible. It doesn't really resonate as truth for me. They may be new to the planet, or may have just a really dense veil of amnesia, because that's what's best for them, to not be distracted by by past lives and to really be focusing on the now. And there also are some amazing souls that have not been here many times that bring these beautiful abilities from other planets and other locations that are really here to uplift Earth and uplift mankind.
Wonderful. Well, we have people saying this is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wendy. Let's see. I am going to just finish with what Christine Lynn is saying. I've often wondered if you have any lives. Does it mean that, or many lives? Does that mean that we are slow learners? LOL. Or is that just that old souls are here to be a healer? So I guess that's something that you clarified for her, which is wonderful.
Good. Free will choice. There's no slow learners. There's no, I don't even care for the term old soul. I think there's more experienced souls, just simply they've incarnated more times, but that's a vocabulary thing for me.
Yes, wonderful. Let's see, Heidi's saying, thank you. Thank you. I have to go to another meeting. Let's see, time for Zumba, her happy place. I love that. Do we get time to live with our loved ones in the way that we knew them before we incarnate? Is that something that, I guess she's talking about the time between lives?
I believe absolutely. We just that heart to heart connection and just being able to let everything go and just feel the love, being able to release those emotions of anxiety and fear and sadness and anger. I believe we're really here to experience those in a human body, to learn to let everything go except love. Was it Marianne Williamson who wrote Return to Love? Yeah. And I just really feel like that's what we're here for. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do, but hard things can be very worthwhile.
Yes, you're right. So Patricia's saying, thank you so much. This is something I've been wanting to do. We have thank yous all over. Great information, Wendy. So extremely interesting. Thank you so much, Wendy. I hope you'll be coming back soon. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. And you have about 2 more minutes. Do you have any?
Sure. I will just wrap up by saying, so welcome to reach out to me via wendyrosewilliams.com, via my website. And anyone is welcome to request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment with me there. Also, the first 3 people that would like to go to the website and get qualify for a free copy of the audiobook, I'm happy to give out 3 of them. Just mention Helping Parents Heal, and I will provide those to you. And also, please join me on Waking Up Spiritually podcast, and you can see them all archived at wakingupspiritually.com or on YouTube. And we have a Facebook group that's the same name, and join me there, and just love to dialogue further. So thank you. This was such a pleasure. And oh my goodness, 99 plus. And I can't believe how many questions you got through, Elizabeth. That's fantastic.
Well, I just spelled spiritually wrong because I did it too quickly. But anyway, so Waking Up Spiritually, I'm sure that there will be a lot of people joining you. And thank you so much for spending time with us this evening. We always ask people to unmute themselves and say thank you and goodbye, and have a wonderful evening. So
yes, thank you. Thanks so much for being here.
Unmute yourselves, everyone.
Thank you, Wendy. That was fantastic.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Elizabeth and Irene and everyone. Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful evening.
Thanks.
This was
Bye.
great.